Today we are going to complete Unit 2, Lesson 4. And if you want to go back to last semester's videos and see, we did more examples of these same types of word problems in Unit 5, Lesson 4. And also, if you're still struggling with how to pull the information and then actually writing the equations. If you want to watch the Unit 5 mid-review, that will help you review just the basics of writing the equation given 2 points or given a point and a slope. Just a quick summary review is what that is. But today we are focused on applications of writing these equations of these lines. So we've got 4 different types that we're going to discuss today, and we're just going to do 2 examples of each. And then there is an assignment posted for you to practice. So let's jump right in with number 1. A music app charges $2 to download the app. So that is a one-time fee to download it. So that is my y-intercept. Next, they charge additionally $1.29 per song that I download. So that would be my slope. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to write the equation of the line. I'm going to plug the slope in right here where it goes, 1.29. I'm going to plug the y-intercept right here where it goes. That's a +2. And then I'm going to have to plug in a third piece of information that they gave me at the end where they asked me a question. So a linear equation, we're going to write that, and we need to find the total cost to download 30 songs. So we need to think about which variable would represent the songs that I would purchase. And that is going to be the X variable. X equals the number of songs that you download. So 30. And now I have an equation that I'm ready to solve. Y is going to represent the total cost. All right, so I'm going to use my calculator to help me out. I have $1.29 times 30 is going to give me $38.70. And then I need to add 2 to that. So $40.70 would be the total cost to download 30 songs. What I'd like for you to do now is to try to identify the slope and the y-intercept for number 2 and see if you can set up the equation. So the late fee for library books is $2. That's a one-time fee. Plus, they charge 15 cents each day that a book is late. So 0.15 because it's 15 cents. So I'm going to plug these in, 0.15 into, and now I'm ready to read the question. If Maria's fee for a late book was $3.20, that is the total that she has to pay. And that's going to be my Y value. So $3.20. All right, so I have written my equation. Let's just talk about real quickly, what does X represent in this situation? X is going to be the number of days that the book is late. And so we're ready to go ahead and solve this equation. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and that is $1.20 equals 0.15x. If I divide both sides by that 15 cents, using my calculator to help me out here, I'm going to get x equals 8, and that would be 8 days. Great job. So that is type 1. If they give you a y-intercept and a slope, we just plug in. Let's look at type 2. If they give me a point and a slope. Chit Chat Wireless charges 30 cents per minute plus a monthly base fee. So let's go ahead and identify my slope right here. The word per helps me to see that. So m equals 0.30. In September, Maggie used 120 minutes and her bill was $51. So this is minutes and this is the total bill. And that is the ordered pair that they gave me. It's a data point where X is the 120 minutes that she used and $51 is the total amount that she spent. So now I have 3 pieces of information and I'm ready to plug them in to my slope-intercept form. So my slope is 0.3, the x is 120, and the y is 51, and I need to solve for the b. Solve for b and wrap this up in parentheses. 30 cents times 120 is 36. I'm ready to subtract 36 to get the b by itself. So 51 minus 36 is 15. So the monthly base fee for this cell phone is $15. And let me just use red to identify my y-intercept. So I am now ready to write in my equation. Y equals mx plus b again. What I can do is I can plug in my slope. I can plug in my y-intercept. And if I had another color that I could use right now on my smartboard, I would. So if you are also color coding, please pick any color that you've not yet used. I'm stuck with these 3 or 4 colors, okay? So the last thing that they had asked me to do is write and solve an equation to find the cost if Maggie uses 165 minutes in October. So which variable represented minutes? Was it X or was it Y? And I can see that it was the X, okay? Y was the total cost. So I'm going to plug in 165 right here. Wrap this up in parentheses, add my plus sign, and bring down y equals. And I am ready to plug all that. I'm just going to type it directly in my calculator. And what I'm going to get is $64.50 would be the total cost of her bill. And that is the final answer. Let's get you started on number 4 because on your paper, I accidentally just copied over the exact same question as number 3 and printed it before I changed it. So what you might want to do right now is just cross out what your number 4 says and pause the video and write down what this number 4, this new problem is that I've added to the notes. So now that you've got the new word problem written on your paper, let's go ahead and break it down. A candle burns at a rate of 0.2 inches per hour. The word per tells me that this is my slope. After 8 straight hours of burning, the candlestick is now 13.4 inches tall. How can I be certain that this is an ordered pair? It is always in one sentence, and they are giving me 2 different pieces or types of information. 8 hours, and then after that 8 hours, the candlestick is 13.4 inches tall. So that's an X and a Y variable. So 8 hours, it's now 13.4 inches tall. This is an X and this is a Y. So let's go ahead and plug this in to y equals mx plus b and find out what our y-intercept is. So my y is 13.4, x is 8, and the slope is 0.2. And now what I'm going to do is simplify this. Oh, but there's one more thing that I forgot to do here with my slope. If a candle is burning, is it going to get smaller or is it going to get bigger? So this was kind of a tricky word here. This means it should be a negative slope. And I had forgotten to mention that. So now we're ready to simplify. So negative 0.2 times 8 is negative 1.6. And now I can add the 1.6 to both sides. And my y-intercept, or the original height of this candle before I started burning it, was 15 inches. Oh, and I should actually box this up in red. This is my y-intercept. So now I have a slope and I have a y-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. So my step 1 was finding b, and I did all that right over here. Step 1 on the left. I'm now doing step 2 on the right, which is to do the second part of the question. We want to find the original height of the candle. So they could have said, find the height of the candle when it had been burning. They could have said, find the height of the candlestick when it had been burning for 14 hours. They could have asked me lots of different things here, okay? But it is my job to take what they ask me and try to solve it, okay? So the original height of the candle would be when it had been burning for 0 hours. 0. So my x variable would be 0 here. Plug in my slope and plug in my y-intercept. And I'm ready to simplify this and reduce it. 0 times negative 0.2 is 0. And 0 plus 15 is 15. So this is the original height. Some people might have been able to see that before plugging it in, but it is important to understand that when they ask you for the original of something or how tall is it when it's on the ground? That's probably the hardest thing to do, is to think of, well, when I'm standing on the ground, I'm 0 height off the ground. So it would be 0 that I plug in. All right, we are ready to move on over to type 3, and that is how do we write the equation of the line when they give us 2 data points. So 2 data points. Alrighty. So number 5 says to serve 1 person at a local restaurant takes 10 minutes. So that is 1 comma 10, where X represents people and Y represents minutes. All right. To serve 5 people, it takes 18 minutes. So these are my 2 data points. What I need to do first is to find the slope. So step A, or 1, whatever you want to call it, is the slope. So we're going to need to use the slope formula. Remember, it is on top it is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what I can do now is reduce. 18 minus 10 is 8. 5 minus 1 is 4. And that reduces to just a 2. What I need to do now is to choose one of the ordered pairs that I will use. So I'm going to go ahead with the 1 and the 10. I'll use that. And I'm going to plug those 3 pieces of information into y equals mx plus b, and I will solve for the b. So my slope is 2. The ordered pair I'm using is x equals 1 and y equals 10. And now I'm ready to simplify. 2 times 1 is 2, and I'm going to need to subtract that from both sides. And b equals 8. b equals 8. So if I were to write the equation of the line, it would look like this. Where I would plug in 2 for my slope and a positive 8 for my y-intercept. So I've done the first part. I've written an equation. Now I need to use it to find the number of minutes it would take to serve a party of 8. So where does the 8 go in? We took these notes earlier to help us. X is people. So the 8 is going to go in right here. So I'm going to bring everything down. And that's not 28, it's 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 plus 8 is 24. And that would be minutes. Okay, so it would take 24 minutes to serve 8 people. I'd like for you to try to pull out the 2 ordered pairs from this word problem and write them down and label what they mean. What is the X representing? What is the Y representing? So pause this video while you do that. All right, so I have identified my 2 ordered pairs. And in this, they gave me my information in 2 separate sentences, okay? So X is the minutes, 10 minutes Usually what they give you first in the sentence represents your X value, and the last thing they give you is your Y value, okay, which in this case is total cost. So in order to write the equation, the very first thing that we need to do is find a slope. So why don't you do this first step on your own? I want you to find the slope. Pause this video while you do that. All right, so my slope is 0.22. Now that I know a slope, so actually this is step B. I forgot to keep labeling it before. Step B is to pick a point and use your slope and plug them all in to slope-intercept form. So let's plug in what we know. I'm going to use the first ordered pair again, where the X value was 10 minutes. The Y value was 3.19, and the slope is 0.22. Let's use my calculator to help me out here. I get 2.2 plus B, and I do want to subtract that 2.2 from both sides to get the B by itself. And I find out that B equals 0.99. So that means it costs 99 cents just to have this cell phone, the international calling plan. Okay. And that is red, my y-intercept. So now I'm ready to plug in my y-intercept and my slope. Y equals mx plus b. And I know that the m is 0.22 and the b is 0.99. Now let's go back up and rewrite. They want to know what would be the cost of a 12-minute phone call to France. Well, remember, X represented minutes. So I'm going to plug in a 12 here. And then I will end up just typing this directly into my calculator. And when I do that, 0.22 times 12 gives me $2.64. If I add 99 cents to that, I get $3.63 would be the length or the cost of a 12-minute phone call to France. Great job. These are the most involved of any of the types of word problems that we need to do. Because it has me doing everything, finding the slope, finding the y-intercept, and answering an additional question. So don't feel badly if you're still feeling like you're kind of struggling with type 3. The more we practice, the better we'll get at it. Now let's go do type 4. Type 4 is, what if they give us information that is already in a standard format? So standard form word problems, we always kind of know that it's going to be in standard form because they are going to relate two different objects to us. So let's look at number 7. A roadside vegetable stand sells pumpkins for $5 each. So X is going to equal pumpkins. And the way that I would write, they sell them for $5 each, would be 5x. Okay, they also sell tomatoes. That's item number 2. We're going to call that Y equals tomatoes. And that is for $3 each. The total sales on a certain day was $98. That's total. So it's going to be equal to the total. Now they want to know, so that's my equation. I wrote it. It's really easy writing these equations. Now, if they sold 10 pumpkins, write and solve a linear equation to find the number of tomatoes that they sold. So pumpkins, and that's why I labeled it x equals pumpkins, so that I would know really easily where to plug this in. So 10. And then bring down the rest of the equation. And we're going to solve this. So 5 times 10 is 50, and I'm going to subtract that from both sides. And then divide both sides by 3, and I get y equals 16, and that is tomatoes. And that's it. Here's what I want for you to do. I want you to try number 8 on your own. At the very least, please label what does X represent and what does Y represent. All right. And then if you feel comfortable enough writing the equation as well, go ahead and do that. All right, so I have identified my X is plants and my Y is trees. They told me 17 plants and 8 trees. So I wrote 17x plus 8y, and the total is 964. Now we're ready to do the second part. If plants cost $12 each, so plants are my X, I'm going to plug in a 12 here. And then I'm going to solve to find out what is the cost of a tree. So 17 times 12 is going to give me 204. And then I'm going to subtract that from both sides. And this will give me 760. And then if I divide this by 8, I get 760 divided by 8 is $95, and that is per tree. That's how much trees cost. Great job. So you have completed today's lesson, and you are ready now to go and complete your practice assignment.